The purpose here is for us to introduce some people who have maybe not had a lot of exposure to Farris to this point. There's a bunch of us who have been pretty deeply involved, but we're going to try to catch everybody else up now. Some of the things we're going to talk about is who is Farris, our contacts, what our territories are, what this whole concept of a FAST center is all about. We'll explain that. We're talking about our inventory, training opportunities, marketing, and who our contacts are at Farris. So Farris has been around for quite a while. They were founded back in, I think, 1943 by a fellow named Victor Farris in New Jersey. In 1968, they opened a plant in Canada in addition to that. At the same time, they were acquired by Teledyne. And in 1995, they moved the corporate headquarters from New Jersey to Brecksville, Ohio, which is where they are today. And since then, they were acquired by Curtis Wright in 1999. So today, they've got 3 manufacturing plants. They've got an ASME-certified flow test facility, about 400 employees, and depending who you talk to, they are either the number 2 or number 3 relief valve manufacturer in the marketplace. So Farris likes to talk about the circle of life, which is what we're looking at here, and they see their value in their ability to manage the entire life cycle of their products within a customer's facility. And the process kind of starts at the 12 o'clock position there with design. Farris has a relief valve system, a relief system design program called iPrism. It's their own program that they use internally, and they have the ability through their Farris engineering group to work with customers on designing relief systems, either on an individual application basis or across an entire corporation with multiple facilities and multiple operating units. iPrism can be, the customers can contract use of iPrism through Farris Engineering Services, where Farris uses their engineering expertise to do the job for the customer, or there's an opportunity for customers to license iPrism for their own use, in which case it resides on the internet. The customer logs in and they do their work from there.
Hey, Doug.
Yes.
Just a note, we got a RFQ today from DCP, and it came off iPrism.
Oh, really? Okay. That's cool. Sounds kind of like to learn more about that. From there, we go to equip, and that's very obviously a sale of the new products that they manufacture. The next step in the circle is monitoring. They have a product called Smart PRV, which is a wireless valve monitor, which they can apply in applications where the customer wants to be wirelessly notified when a valve relieves. You can use it for emissions monitoring and that type of thing. It can provide information to help the customer calculate what the volume of their release was. So that's an interesting product. Past that, we then go to the FAST system, which is the Farris Authorized Service Team. Talk more about that in the future, but that's basically us and other assemblers and service facilities around the world supporting the product. And then we get to the audit stage, which again involves iPrism. On an ongoing basis, they can work with customers on changes to the plant, additions, modifications to systems, and then what effect those changes have on anything else that's covered in that design. As far as contacts are concerned, we have 2 major contacts within the company. In the Rocky Mountains, your go-to guy is Bill Johnson, and in the Great Lakes, it would be myself. As far as our locations are concerned, you can see on the map here, this basically just plots out our existing locations. But what we want to talk about is Farris understands our relationship with Be About Brock Easley and the Dale Prentice Company, and they are on board with promotion of the Farris products through those organizations within our territory. Specifically, our contracted territory for Farris is, as you see on the screen here. I won't read through the whole description, but I think you get a pretty fair idea of what it includes. What's a little difficult to see on the Great Lakes map is if you look down into Minnesota and Iowa, you peer closely and you'll see some red dots. In addition to the Wisconsin and Michigan territory, we are covering the entire Flint Hills Resources Organization. There's about a dozen plants that are in the Minnesota and Iowa and Nebraska region, and actually one in Georgia as well that we have responsibility for. So a FAST center, as we said, the FAST stands for Farris Authorized Service Team. It's their terminology for their network of assemblers and service providers around the world. One of the hallmarks of the FAST team is the ability for inventory sharing between FAST centers. Currently, there are 38 FAST centers in North America. About 31 of those are in, there's 38 FAST centers total. About 31 of those are in the Americas. So we can go online and we can check inventories for each of those facilities, and we have contacts and some standardized pricing with which we can buy product and sell product back and forth. It represents about $50 million worth of inventory overall, so it's a pretty good deal. Our FAST center locations will be in Evanston and New Berlin. The process to become a FAST center, obviously beyond the contract, involves several steps. First, I just want to mention, and when we talk about a FAST center, if you see someone identified as a FAST center, not all FAST centers are assemblers who stock inventory. You can have organizations that have multiple locations, but they don't assemble at every location. The service-only facilities are known as FAST centers as well. It's just a small distinction to take note of. And if Darren is online, I think Darren wants to talk about some of the points here.
Yeah, I'm on, Doug. Thank you. As Doug said, they have a vast assembler network with multi-million dollars of inventory, which will be essential to our getting up and going before we can get our inventory in place and get our assemblers certificates and authorization from the ASME. I wanted to just say we do have our audits scheduled. They'll be done by Don Henderson. It's the Farris Quality Man. He'll be coming out to Evanston on December 5th and 6th, and we'll be in New Berlin on December 12th and 13th. That's part of the process that we have to go through in order to get our authorization from Farris to even become an assembler. Once that happens, on to the next bullet point, our national board reviews. We are scheduled in Evanston for January 3rd, 4th, and 5th, with lab dates going to be as soon as the second to last week in January. I should have confirmation on those dates by Friday. As far as New Berlin, I talked to Amy at the National Board today. She all but assured me that the dates for New Berlin could be the same week as Evanston, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th in January, which means they could be ready to go by the end of the month as well, getting the valves to the lab. They have 2 full weeks open of dates. She just needed to kind of check with the lab manager to see when we could get in there. So that's pretty good news. Not when we wanted, but or as quickly as we wanted, but still, at least it's January. Quality manual revisions, those have all been done. They're in the hands of Don Henderson. I haven't gotten any red flags from him. I'm assuming that he was okay with everything there. He's had those for a couple of weeks now. Training, we have sent some of our key technicians back to Brecksville for technician training that went very well. There was 3 or 4 from New Berlin and 2 from Evanston, and we're hoping to continue that and get some more technicians there as we get going. Inventory-wise, I'll let Doug speak to that, but I can tell you that we do have our valves in Evanston that we need for our assembler review, and according to Doug, he said they have a little bit of theirs, but it's trickling in. So all in all, we're in really good shape to continue on and get our assembler certificates and get started towards the end of January, being able to ship from our assembler service centers. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Dan. So what are we going to be certified on? This chart represents all of the products and services that we have applied for certification on. When Don Henderson is here, he's going to take our people through some assembly and test procedures just to make sure they have good proficiency at assembling and testing the product. So when the national board gets here, we're ready to go to assemble and test valves for all of these categories. So it's a pretty intense program that we'll be going through. As far as the inventory is concerned, we're in the process of trying to put together our initial inventory for sale to customers, and we're looking at placing an order for about $500,000 worth of product that will be split between Evanston and New Berlin. Product codes are essential to everything we do with Tribute for a couple of reasons. One thing that they do, obviously, is to help us with sales analysis. The other thing it does is it helps us to utilize Tribute to further automate our purchasing process. So we've assigned these product codes to the products, and you can see what they are. The column underneath the green box there, we have separate product codes for internal use on loosely assembled product. That is the stuff that just comes in and it's not set at anything yet. Okay. Farris has several tools that are very useful to us, already have been. First one is called CW Commerce. It's an online portal where we can go into their system and we can get all kinds of information. We can place orders, we can look at the status of our orders, we can get bills of material on valves that we need parts for. All of the engineering documents are located there, spring charts and valve assembly procedures and all that kind of thing. There's a bunch of commercial documents, everything from shipping information, freight carrier information to the various approvals and certifications that Farris holds that customers might want to see a copy of on a project. We can also place requests for quicker than standard lead time shipments. This is also where the inventory exchange lives. Inventory exchange is where we go to look at other fast centers inventories. The other tool that hopefully a lot of you have had exposure to already is SizeMaster. That's Farris's sizing program. If you've been on it, you realize it's certainly very different than PRV2 size. In a lot of ways, it has a lot more functionality than PRV2. Their Valve Wizard function, we can, on one page basically, we can calculate valve sizing for multiple scenarios. Then we go through the valve product selection and configuration, and it is intelligent enough to know if you make bad selection and you choose something that's outside of the parameters for your operating conditions and whatnot. It has a very extensive package of project reports and has the ability to batch those reports if you're working on a large project. So run all your reports together as opposed to running them one tag at a time. One big difference that we wish was not there is that currently SizeMaster is not a pricing tool, but I say yet. They do have something they're testing internally that will have that pricing function, and that'll be the next generation of the sizing tool. I'm not sure if it'll still be called SizeMaster or not, but that's probably in the first half of 2018 or so that'll be released. This is a cross-reference list of the product that would be equivalent to the Crosby JOS series. This is supplied to us by Farris, and we've been looking at this, and what we're going to do, Darren and I are going to take this and we're expanding it and make a comprehensive cross-reference chart that will cover all of the product lines that we're handling with Farris. So we have a little work to do yet, but it'll be a nice tool to have, and we'll certainly have that available for everyone. So generally speaking, here's where we're at. The assembler or the Fast Center contract is signed and is effective October 1st. November 1st, and we're good to go. I mean, we're selling valves. We're selling valves in New Berlin. We're selling valves out west, so we're off and running. As I said, we're finalizing a $500,000 stock order so that by the time we're through our certification process, we should be ready to hit the ground running and ship valves from inventory. There are actually two contracts. One is a rep contract, which is really intended to cover large project work instances where we would process something as an agent order and ask Farris to hold the receivable on it, and then we just get paid a commission. But the Fast Center contract is where most of the business is going to be transacted. Farris, their desire is for Fast Centers to run as much business as possible through the Fast Center without having to order individual onesie-twosie valves from the factory, and we intend to try to follow that desire. So we've had some training already. As Darren mentioned, we had a number of technicians go to training at Farris. We let's say out west and in Great Lakes here, we did some initial training on CW Commerce back in August, and we had training, more in-depth product sales training in Evanston, middle of October, and in the Great Lakes the same week, actually. We did a session here in New Berlin this week, and there's one more session coming up in Henderson on November 28th. Marketing and communications. I'm going to call on Mike Cullen to help us here.
Thanks, Doug. As relates to that, Farris has provided us with a number of catalogs for their full product binders, which Doug received and distributed. More brochures and other collateral can be purchased through their CW Commerce site, so we'll be able to get more brochures and information out for you guys based on amount requested. The press releases that we've been doing, we sent them content for internal and external communications for the new Farris rep announcement. So they have it, then we have the signed contracts, and I heard today from Patawaska they are going to be sending us the finalized signed letters, so we'll have them by the end of this week. Internally, we're going to have those letters for the Del Prentice Company, as well as VRC Protex and Be About Brock Easley. So when we send out information later to our customers, we'll have those with those specific mentions for each one of those companies. As it relates to trade shows and others, representatives will be supported by Farris for regional trade show activity. However, there will need to be reviewed on approved by the regional sales manager. So possible financial support could come in from Farris for those trade shows. Just need a little longer lead time so they can make sure that they have that in their budgets. Farris will provide reps with trade show demos when available. For local events, again, we'll have to get a hold of the regional sales manager 4 to 6 weeks prior to show that they have adequate planning to take that place. As far as demos, reps can be able to purchase demos from Farris through the demo unit order process on CW Commerce. We have already received promo items, logo items and the like from Farris. They provided us each one of the logos for the Fast Center, for their products, and a number of items of their products that we can utilize in our outreach and other marketing materials. Farris does have quantities of promotional items that they will give us for trade shows. They just have a as-needed basis, and again, let them know 4 to 6 weeks prior to any of those requests for promotional items. And then lastly, the surveys. Farris, like ourselves, conduct a lot of end-user marketing surveys and customer satisfaction surveys annually. So each representative is expected to complete those surveys. So we'll likely do them through our Constant Contact account, and then we'll report back to Farris what we hear back from our customers. So what we'll need from each of the salespeople, obviously, is to get the contact information so we can do those outreach programs. Next slide, Doug.
Okay.
So as it related to the internal announcements, it's kind of fluid now. We have missed some of these dates due to the fact that we were waiting on the signatures on the contract, but we will be receiving those final announcements from Farris. And at the end of this week, we'll do an internal announcement to all our employees. As soon as we get that information together, that will go out through Constant Contact like normal, like you guys normally see. So we'll hit each one of our business units. We're doing the internal webinar currently with an overview of Farris. And then after that, we're going to be doing external announcements, which again will probably fall into next week, where we have a specific one for Brock Easley for the Rocky Mountains, the Dell Prentice Company for the Great Lakes, and then BRC in all territories. So those will be, again, external announcements to our customers that we currently hold in Constant Contact.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. I'm going to jump back one slide here for just a second just to point something out to you. See in the what that image is off the Farris website, showing how when a customer goes in looking for a rep, this is the kind of thing that they see. You see that little tag on the right bottom corner there. It says FAST, Farris Authorized Service Team. There's a tag like that that's going to go on every valve that we send out of one of our shops, every new valve. And that tag also contains our contact information as well. So it's another nice way for them to help promote us as well as the standard valve nameplate. The last slide here just kind of shows you who our contacts are. Most of you, I think, have probably already met Brian Kelly, and Brian's based out of Arizona. At this point in time, he is the regional manager for our entire footprint. So we'll be dealing with Brian pretty regularly. Our customer service specialist, or they call it CSS, is Darla Zarlino, and she's been very helpful to us so far. I think all of these folks at the factory have been a little bit overwhelmed with all of the change in reps and everything that they've seen, but they've got great attitudes, and everything that we have seen indicates that they are really, really interested in helping us be successful. So we're really looking forward to working with these folks.